Good evening, I'm Keisha Betts with the CTV News Update. Gubernatorial candidate Wes Moore officially files for office today alongside his running mate Aruna Miller. This afternoon, the two filed their candidacies at the Maryland Board of Elections in Annapolis. Moore is an entrepreneur, author, TV producer, and U.S. Army veteran. Miller, who is a former state delegate from Montgomery County, has worked as an engineer, planner, and transportation official.
We want to make sure that we are uniting a one Maryland philosophy, that all 24 jurisdictions are going to have a champion in Annapolis from the governor's office. And so we're really going to focus on how do you create real measures of economic opportunity and economic growth that everybody can benefit from. This is about creating pathways to work, wages, and wealth. Those are the things that we know in this moment we can get done with and for the people of Maryland.
We'll have more on their campaign tomorrow. Gubernatorial candidate Tom Perez gets another big labor union endorsement. SEIU's property service workers and educators say they'll endorse the Democrats' campaign for governor. The groups collectively represent more than 30,000 education support personnel, janitors, security officers, and airport workers. The union says its workers will knock on doors and use direct mail to turn out voters for Perez. Here are the latest COVID-19 numbers for our area. The Maryland Department of Health has identified 146 new cases of the disease. The positivity rate in Prince George's is at 1.39%. 2 Marylanders have died of COVID since the latest numbers were released. Hospitalizations are at 228 and continue to decline. Well, former President Barack Obama tests positive for COVID. Obama tweeted the news yesterday. He says he is feeling fine, but he did have a scratchy throat. Former First Lady Michelle Obama tested negative. Obama, who is vaccine boosted, reminded everyone to get vaccinated. Well, an American journalist who was in Ukraine to film refugees has been killed. 50-year-old Brett Renault was killed outside the capital of Kyiv when Russian forces opened fire. Kyiv's regional police force posted a photo believed to be Renault's body on Facebook along with pictures of his American passport. Renault was working on the Time Studios project focusing on the global refugee crisis. It was called the largest civil rights investigation in Maryland, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. When news was released last December, more than 100 students with disabilities have been secluded and restrained in Frederick County schools. An investigation by the office revealed more than 7,000 incidents of abuse of students, some as young as 5 years old. In the third segment of Patricia Vallone's interview with U.S. Attorney Eric Barron, he discusses how those complaints may lead to changes in state law.
That was initiated by complaints from parents whose children may have, one or more disabilities. And what we found through a long-term investigation is that the school system had been systemically isolating children with disabilities. And so we investigated and eventually entered into a civil settlement with the district. And as I understand it, there is legislation now pending in Annapolis having to do with that situation.
Meantime, a state bill would ban the practice of seclusion in public schools. Non-public schools could still use the form of punishment, but would require stricter limits on the person performing the seclusion. The bill comes 3 months after the Department of Justice found that Frederick County schools violated the Americans with Disabilities Act, which prohibits discrimination against those with disabilities. In a settlement with the Justice Department, school officials agreed to stop secluding students, report all instances of restraints, and train staff on proper behavioral interventions for students with disabilities. You're watching CTV News. I'm Keisha Betts. We'll be back in a moment.
1 in 365 African Americans battle sickle cell disease. I was one of them. Life back then was painful. I was in and out of the hospital and had frequent pain crises. A blood stem cell transplant is the only cure for sickle cell disease. I was fortunate to find a perfect match in my younger sister, but many patients do not have a compatible donor in their families, and Black patients have only a 23% chance of finding an unrelated donor. More Black donors are urgently needed to help save lives. It only takes a simple cheek swab to join the Be the Match registry. Learn more about becoming a donor and access free patient resources by visiting endsicklecell.org today. You or someone you know could be the cure for a patient battling sickle cell, like me.
What if you could feel in control of your retirement in just a few clicks? At aceyourretirement.org, you can. Start with a free 3-minute chat with Avo, your friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer some simple questions like, how do you feel about your ability to save for retirement? Or in how many years do you want to retire? To get free action items customized just for you, get your retirement back on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Thank you for staying with us. A University of Maryland student is participating in a special NIH competition. Sahara Ibrahimi is competing in the All of Us Minority Student Research Symposium on March 31st. Ibrahimi is researching the effects physical activity had on mental health during the pandemic and the disparities that exist by race. She says Hispanics and Blacks were more likely to experience anxiety and depression.
People who were from high socioeconomic status, they had either their private gym or lived in areas where there was bigger, community parks where people could go out and still kind of stretch and do their exercise while maintaining their social distancing. But then versus for a lot of Hispanic and Black communities that were very highly crowded, people were scared even just letting their children go out and play in the parks, let alone themselves.
Ibrahimi is a second-year PhD student. A Confederate statue on Maryland's Eastern Shore is finally coming down. The Talbot Boys statue was removed from the grounds of the Talbot County Courthouse in Easton today. The copper statue is the state's last public monument to be honoring the Confederacy. It depicts a boy holding a Confederate flag. The Facebook group called the Move the Confederate Talbot Boys Monument advocated for its removal. Harriet Tubman, the renowned abolitionist and conductor of the Underground Railroad, is honored over the weekend by Governor Larry Hogan. Officials gathered at the Harriet Tubman Museum to commemorate her 200th birthday on Saturday. A Maryland native, she helped countless people escape the horrors of slavery. Hogan says Marylanders should learn about Tubman's life and her accomplishments.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that we here in the state of Maryland are officially declaring 2022 as the year of Harriet Tubman. We're so proud to have a statue of Harriet Tubman in the governor's mansion in Annapolis, and we recently had commissioned and erected a statue in our historic State House in the old Senate chamber, in the old House chamber, to commemorate her many contributions to our state and to the nation.
The event took place at the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad State Park and Visitor Center in Dorchester County. One man is dead and another is injured following a multiple car crash over the weekend. The victim is 46-year-old Fredis Rivas. The incident happened on the Beltway at Central Avenue just after 3 a.m. on Sunday. Officials say Rivas stopped to assist at the scene but was struck by a vehicle. He was taken to a hospital where he died of his injuries. Well, you have a little more than 4 weeks left to complete your 2021 tax return. Before filing, the IRS wants to remind you to avoid common mistakes. Spokesperson David Tucker says make sure you enter correct Social Security numbers. He also says you should never turn in a blank tax return. Also, if you need more time, Tucker says you can always file an extension.
It's not an extension to pay. What we recommend they do is make an estimate of their tax liability, pay that amount, and that way any sort of penalties or interest that accrue are just based upon the remaining amount and not that larger estimated amount.
For more tips and information, visit the website on your screen. And we'll be back with more news in a moment. Stay tuned.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Thank Thank you for staying with us. A Prince George's County music educator is set to debut his latest work. It's called The Mosaic Intersections of Sound. Pianist Brandon Felder assembled the compositions, many of which were written during the isolation of the pandemic. You're looking at one of the selections titled Tomorrow I See. Felder calls Mosaic a project of hope and possibilities. It includes dozens of musicians, singers, and rappers to help tell the story.
It's been paramount for me and most important that what we're living through during this pandemic, that we have some kind of living record of it so that we understand what we've gone through and experienced as a generation for our legacy, for our children, for those that are coming behind, to kind of understand what we've lived through and what we're experiencing.
Mosaic will debut virtually and is scheduled for March 28th. We'll have more on the project and Brandon Felder later this month. Mark your calendars. The county school system is gearing up to host a school bus driver job fair. PGCPS is looking to hire new school bus drivers immediately. It's hosting a virtual bus driver job fair this Wednesday, March 16th. Candidates must be 21 years old or older with at least 3 years of driving experience. Job seekers must also have a commercial driver's license, Class C or B. If hired, employees will get retirement and health insurance benefits. For more details on the job fair, visit the website on your screen. PG Parks and Recreation is gearing up to open its baseball fields to youth players. Beginning tomorrow, March 15th, turf and rectangle fields will be available for baseball and softball players. Officials say more than 100 sites across the county will be open for athletic practices and games. Diamond Field locations can be used for both adult and youth baseball and softball tournaments. For more details on requesting a permit to use one of the sites, visit the website on your screen. The Lady Terps are set for March Madness. The NCAA tournament begins this week, and the Terps are seated at number 4. Tournament brackets were announced yesterday. Coach Brenda Fries and her Terps will host the first 2 rounds in College Park. The Lady Terps play the University of Delaware on Friday. Checking your weather forecast tonight, mostly clear with lows near 40. Tuesday, sunny skies, highs near 67. Wednesday, sunshine continues, highs around 68. Thursday, rain possible with highs in the 60s. And now for the community calendar, a Get Fit family fitness event is coming up tomorrow at the Glendale Community Center. The free event is for ages 6 and up, and it runs from 6 to 7 p.m. Visit pjparks.com and register for the class through Parks Direct. And that's your CTV News Update. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Keisha Butts. Have a good night.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible, she must be a keeper.